first moment, so the reading of the declaration of Archbishop Lefèvre, the 21st of November 1974.
We hold fast with all our heart and with all our soul to Catholic Rome, guardian of the Catholic faith and of the traditions necessary to preserve this faith, to eternal Rome, mistress of wisdom and truth. We refuse, on the other hand, and have always refused, to follow the Rome of neo-modernist and neo-Protestant tendencies which were clearly evident in the Second Vatican Council and after the Council in all the reforms which derived from it. All these reforms, indeed, have contributed and are still contributing to the destruction of the Church, to the ruin of the priesthood, to the abolition of the sacrifice of the Mass and of the sacraments, to the disappearance of religious life, to a naturalist and Teilhardian teaching in universities, seminaries and catechetics, a teaching derived from liberalism and Protestantism, many times condemned by the same magisterium of the Church. No authority, not even the highest in the hierarchy, can force us to abandon or diminish our Catholic faith, so clearly expressed and professed by the Church's magisterium for 19 centuries. But though we, says St. Paul, or an angel from heaven preach a gospel to you, besides that to which we have preached to you, let him be an anathema. Is it not this that the Holy Father is repeating to us today? And if we can discern a certain contradiction in his words and deeds, as well as in those of the dicasteries, well, we choose what was always taught, and we turn a deaf ear to the novelties destroying the Church. It is impossible to modify profoundly the lex orandi without modifying the lex credendi. Corresponding with the new Mass, we have a new catechism, a new priesthood, new seminaries, a charismatic Pentecostal church, all things opposed to orthodoxy and the perennial teaching of the Church. This Reformation, stemming from liberalism and modernism, is poison through and through. It derives from heresy and ends in heresy, even if all its acts are not formally heretical. It is therefore impossible for any conscientious and faithful Catholic to espouse this Reformation or submit to it in any way whatsoever. The only attitude of faithfulness to the Church and Catholic doctrine in view of our salvation is a categorical refusal to accept this Reformation. That is why, without any spirit of rebellion, bitterness or resentment, we pursue our work of forming priests, with the timeless magisterium as our guide. We are persuaded that we can render no greater service to the Holy Catholic Church, to the Sovereign Pontiff, and to posterity. That is why we hold fast to all that has been believed and practiced in the faith, morals, liturgy, and teaching of the Catechism, formation of the priest, and institution of the Church, by the Church of all time. To all these things as codified in those books which appeared before the modernist influence of the Council. This we shall do until such time as the true light of tradition dispels the darkness obscuring the sky of eternal Rome. By doing this, with the grace of God and the help of the Blessed Virgin Mary and that of St. Joseph and St. Pius X, we are assured of remaining faithful to the Roman Catholic Church and to all the successors of Peter, and of being the Fidelis Dispensatoris Maestrorum Domini Nostri Jesu Christi in Spiritu Sancti. Amen. Marcel Lefèvre, Albano, on the feast of the presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
So I leave it to you to read the other. So for the 50th anniversary of this declaration, Father Pagliarani, with the Superior General, the current Superior General of the Society, wrote the declaration together with Bishop de Galarreta, who came 3 weeks ago, maybe, or 1 month ago, and Father Bouchakour, with the second assistant. Father Bouchakour will be in Johannesburg at the end of this week for a very short stay, so he won't come, but he never came to Africa, so he's been. He went to Gabon, Nigeria, and Kenya, and is visiting shortly the district house in China. So it is printed in the church, so please read it if you are not read it already, or it's also on the Telegram group. What we can learn from this is that our attitude is, we say in French, ligne de crête, I think we say a ridge line. Between two, you have a mountain and you have we say the ridge, On one side, there is another attitude which actually there is it's a balance between two errors or two excesses. So on one side, what we call sedevacantism, or the Pope says something he should not say, so he's not the Pope. And end of the story, And on the other side, the Pope said it, or the Pope does it, he is the Pope, so he is right. And we refuse these two, options, because we see sometimes that the Pope is wrong, but he is the Pope, as far as we can judge. There is absolutely no evidence that he is not the Pope, so he is the Pope. But when he says something he should not say, or he does something he should not do, we can't follow. So that is what we follow, this bridge between sedevacantism and the total full acceptation of everything. So we are in the church, but we want to keep our faith. Archbishop Lefèvre said several times, we do not want to become Protestants. And we have many examples. I know a few examples of converts from Protestantism. They convert to Catholicism, and actually they can't understand, because they think that what they find in Catholicism now is very close to Protestantism. Mass has been changed and teachings and everything. So we want to be Catholic under the Pope, but we don't want to become Protestant. So for that, I think the first important thing for us is to pray for the Pope. That must be our first reaction before critics or whatever. No, the first thing to do is to pray for him. The best thing we can do is to pray for the Pope, and to speak when we speak about him with respect and even with reverence. Even if we have to say that we don't agree, he is the Pope. He is the one who has been chosen. So he is the Vicar of Christ. So we must always keep this respect and this reverence for the Pope. To give a stupid example, but your wife or your best friend or your brother or your father has committed a crime, you are horrified, it's horrible, but it's still your wife or your father or your friend, and you still love him, and you still, even if you don't approve, of course, but it doesn't change. And it's the same for us as the Pope. We are horrified sometimes, but it's still the Pope, it's still our Father on earth. We're supposed to rule the church on behalf of our Lord Jesus Christ. So pray for the Pope. Second thing, we must, I think, try to be Catholic and to live our Catholic life as if there was no crisis. And I explain myself, you could say, okay, it is a mess in the church, so I do what I want. And this is wrong, Even for us in society, this is sometimes a temptation. Okay, here is the crisis in the church, so therefore I will do this a bit like I want to do. No, the society is organized with a hierarchy, exactly as if we were in a diocese. So we can't refer to the bishop, but we have a district superior, and I can do the priest in charge here. Many times, but I think you know it. You wanted to do something, but the district superior does not want. But same as if we were in the diocese with the bishop. And the district superior for Africa, Father Legrier, he doesn't do what he wants. He has to refer to the superior general. And the superior general, there is a general council, and sometimes he can't do also, he has to respect the statutes of the church. So exactly, we try to keep the spirit of the church and to act in our daily Catholic life as if it was normal, even if it's not normal. But we don't want to become Protestant and to choose to do what we want. And it should be the same with the faithful, Normally you should go to your local parish, So you don't, you come here, but have the same kind of relation with the priest here as if it was the normal parish priest, established by persons. Because otherwise we can easily fall into kind of Protestantism. I do what I want, I follow, the Holy Ghost inspires me, and I do what I want. I hope the Holy Ghost inspires me, but my superior also is supposed to speak on behalf of the Holy Ghost. It is the way the Catholic Church works. So pray for the Pope, try to respect the normal function, rules in the Church, and also follow Rome and the Pope in whatever is good, when the Pope, I don't know, for example, now there's a jubilee in Rome with indulgences. If we can, let's go and let's do it. Sometimes there's a year of this or the year of that, the year of faith, the year of there was a few years ago, the year of St. Paul. Let's do this kind of thing. He has authority for that, and these things are good. Let's do it. It's important. It's not because he does something that he does are not good that everything is bad and we must refuse everything. No, we try. Otherwise, we are Sri-Lankans practically, So we refuse what is in contradiction with tradition. Okay? We don't judge. We are not the judge. The judge is tradition. The church has always said that or done that, and so we can't do something different. It's not me who decides that this should be done. So this is very important. And we must also acknowledge and rejoice when something good is done or said. A few weeks ago, the Pope wrote an encyclical on the Sacred Heart. There is a few strange things, but the whole thing is good. We must rejoice. The Pope promotes the devotion to the Sacred Heart, even reparation and all these things. So we must rejoice at that and be happy for them. So pray for the Pope. Try to keep the normal rules in the Church as far as we can. Follow whatever is good and acknowledge when any good is done, rejoice. And last thing I would say is formation, to know our faith, to know our catechism. We would not be here if some of the oldest of you or your parents knew the catechism and were able to say to their parish priest what you say is wrong. And otherwise, if they didn't know the catechism, they would have all followed. The Pope said that, let's do it. No, because they knew the catechism, they knew that there was a problem. So it is the same for us. We must know our faith. Of course, we are supposed to follow our pastors, our priests, our shepherds, but we are also supposed to know our faith. It's not. There was never in the Church blind obedience. Blind obedience is not obedience. It's stupidity. We are not supposed to obey blindly. We are reasonable animals, so we must use our reason. We must have the spirit of obedience. So, I give you another stupid example. I like stupid examples because you can remember them. You are. I think I've given this example a few weeks ago already in a homily, but anyway. I'm a monk. So I've pronounced the vows, the 3 vows, and especially the vows of obedience. The abbot of the monastery asked me to clean this room once, twice, 20 times in the same day. It is stupid, but there is no sin involved. Maybe he does it for my humility or for whatever. So I promised to obey, so I obey. Now the same abbot asked me to commit suicide. I will say, thank you, my dear abbot. I can do it. And I think I've given, in that homily, I remember a very stupid example. If your parish priest said that it's a sin that you don't eat tomatoes, we are not going to follow that, because this does not have anything to do with faith. So, obedience, I am far from what I wanted to say, but anyway, a rule is an ordination of reason for the common good. A law is an ordination of reason for for the common good. If it's not reasonable, it's not a law. If it's not for the common good, it's not a law. So we as Catholics must obey the hierarchy as in the limit of the power of the Pope and of the bishops to transmit the faith, to give us the faith. They don't have the power to teach something different, something new. Okay? Then they have the power, a bishop has the power to tell his priest, don't do that or don't do that. So we have normally to obey these things, except the limit is if it is against the faith. And the danger is I don't like it, so it's against the faith. Okay? It's a danger, so we must be very careful. It's a reason why, again, we must know our faith, so that we can obey in the limit of the power of the hierarchy. Anyway, so to know our faith. There is a French priest who used to say, if you don't read, you will be traitors, you will betray. And it's a little bit true, you know. Many priests or faithful, they are probably good people, but they just follow the hierarchy because, you know, they don't want to ask too many questions and to be in trouble. And so, we must read, we must know our faith, we must know our catechism. And by the way, sometimes it's a bit, you know, adult people think catechism is for children, they don't like it much. The catechism is the revelation, so the Holy Scripture and tradition put into question and answers. You know, it's nothing than that. You know, and so we should all know it. Some books are easier to read than others, but there is a recent one, a very recent one, which is very good, the one of Bishop Schneider, called Credo, I think, which is recent. It's easy to read because it's in modern language. You know, it's easy for us to read, and it is very good. So there is no excuse not to read even catechism. And we must do all of this with a great humility. We are not the best. We are not better than the other. I'm sure here, even in Cape Town, there are some priests who are much holier than me. It's not difficult. And I'm sure there are faithful in other parishes who are much holier than you. It's not difficult. So again, we try to judge the facts and not the intentions, not the people. And we must do it so with humility, internally, and with kindness and goodness. Again, we do not catch flies with vinegar, but with honey. We think we have a mission to keep the treasuries of the church, but and to transmit it. It's not for us; it's to transmit it. But we won't transmit if we are, you know, grumpy and not happy people. So it's part of the. We should be happy because of, you know, if we are in the state of grace, there is no reason not to be happy because we have God in our own soul, and we are happy also. It's for us a big privilege to be the little ones who are keeping the treasuries for the church. Again, we must do it with humility. It's not something to us. It is a grace for us, a privilege to be there. But we must do it faithfully with a great humility and with goodness, with kindness, so that we can, you know, we like so many people to come back to tradition as soon as possible. We know that the crisis will be resolved when the Pope himself, you know, will push tradition back everywhere and will appoint good bishops. But already we know, and you know it very well, that we have a little mission here, and we can attract souls. And you know, and some of you know it from experience, that sometimes there's frustration, but I should have known this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And so let us try to make this known to all the people we can. So humility and kindness, happiness. So we carry on, as we say in French, on les aura. We shall win. We don't do it for us, we do it for the whole church. So, is there any questions, either on the declaration of Bishop Lefèvre, on the society, and on the relation maybe between the society and Rome? Yes.
Oh yes, I think Pope John Paul II, I think excommunicated Archbishop Lefèvre.
Yes.
And the society.
Yes.
And when everyone speaks,
not the society. Technically, excommunication is only for a person.
Oh, okay.
So it was Bishop Lefèvre, the 4 bishops Bishop Lefèvre consecrated. So,
Okay, so you
there
want-
were 5 people excommunicated.
Okay. But now, when anyone speaks to anyone else, other friends of the other parishes, they say, oh yeah, but the society is under excommunicated or what prescribed or whatever it is. What exactly is the status of the society?
Very good question. So so this was in 1988 when Archbishop Lefèvre consecrated 4 bishops without the approval of Pope. So himself and the 4 bishops were excommunicated. In 2009, Pope Benedict XVI removed, cancelled the excommunication. So, of course, Bishop Lefèvre was already dead. So the other bishops are no longer excommunicated. Does not mean that everything is fine, because we don't have a normal, canonical, our canonical situation is not normal.
We don't acknowledge the lowest order, so that's why I don't know.
Yeah, we should be under the local bishop. Okay? To open a house, a church somewhere, normally we should ask permission from the bishop. And we know that they will say, they are going to say no, so we don't. So, canonically, there is an irregularity. There is no more excommunication, there is no longer excommunication. No one can say that we are excommunicated, because Pope Benedict cancelled it, removed it. Pope Francis gave more permission, so things we were doing, but he acknowledged that we can do it for confession. You know, in the church, a sacrament is valid as long as there is matter, form, and intention. So baptism, you use some water, you use the words, and you do it properly with the intention of doing what the church wants to do. It is valid. Okay. But now there's 2 sacraments. They don't require only. To be valid, you need to have a proper approval from the bishop. And this is true for confession and marriage. The priest normally should have his faculties from the bishop in order to make confession, and a special faculty to be a witness for a wedding. Okay? For these 2 sacraments, we were doing it because the canon law says that when there is a big, state of necessity, an impediment for the good of the souls, we can do it. And there was an impediment, because sometimes you couldn't go to a priest for confession, because he was going to tell you that if you go to society you are communicated or whatever, you would refuse. And the same for wedding, because you couldn't have a traditional mass for your wedding. So, according to canon law, we were able to, and to the state of necessity, to give these sacraments. But Pope Francis, it was for confession, it was during the year of mercy, for God's year, maybe 2015 or 16, said that the priest of the society can hear confession, and it is valid, there is no problem. It was first for a year, and then he extended it ad vitam. So there is no longer question for this. And for marriage, Pope Francis, the same Pope Francis, asked, I think it was in 2017, asked the bishops to give us faculties for wedding. So, most of the time they do. In France they do. In South Africa they don't. But they should do. So we do it. Okay? So for all the other sacraments there is no problem of validity. For these 2 it's solved because of what Pope Francis has said. The other things people will do, you are in schism. You are schismatic. What is a schism? What is a schism?
Separation.
Yes, we don't acknowledge anymore. So the Pope is not the Pope. Schism can be for good. For example, the Orthodox, they don't acknowledge the Pope. There should not be a Pope. Or a group say, we don't like this Pope, we don't follow this Pope, he is not. Okay? And this can be a temptation for us. Sometimes we must be careful, No, there is a Pope, he is there. He is the one that has been chosen. So he is there, and we pray for the Pope and the local bishop at every Mass. So, as a result, we are not schismatic because we don't refuse the Pope. Okay? But they say, yes, you are not schismatic in theory, but you are schismatic in practice, because you do what you want. Okay? And so it's true, it's a danger for us. We don't want to be schismatic. So it's a reason why, if we disobey, it must be only because this is contrary to tradition, and because there is a danger for our faith. Okay? But there is neither excommunication, no schism. But we don't have a normal canonical situation. Pope Francis says it's fine, you are Catholic, do your business, no problem. But in some dioceses, so for example in Reunion Island, where we go once a month, until 2021, we were saying Mass in the local churches, from parish church or religious sisters chapel, and the bishop was allowing us to say Mass wherever we wanted. But after the last document of Pope Francis, so he changed his mind. But in some dioceses we have a good relation with the bishop, so it really depends. But when we go to Rome, we can say Mass in St. Peter. When I went to Holy Land, I've said Mass at the Holy Sepulchre. If I was schismatic, no. I don't think they will have allowed me to say Mass in the Holy Sepulchre. The bishop gives us, in many dioceses, the bishops give us the faculties for wedding. So we can't, in the same time, be schismatic and receive the faculties for wedding. It doesn't make any sense. So the only thing which can say, we don't have a normal canonical situation. That's the only thing we can say. I hope I've answered.
Just one last question, if you don't mind, Father, and thank you for that. I often get a sense, it's a perception, that we are quick to call Pope Francis a heretic. Now, help just make it finish. It's a perception, okay, that look, we all have our own personal view on the situation. But I often get the perception that sometimes society itself sails very close to the wind, if you know what I'm saying. Where is it on that situation? Where's the line between praying to the Pope and calling him a heretic? That's what I'm. It's a perception.
It's also a good question. It's not. I can say that the Pope is heretic, and he's still the Pope, and I still pray for him. It's not because he's heretic that he's no longer the Pope.
But it would be fair then to say there is evidence of heresy without judging him a heretic. In other words, that judgment is the open.
Yes.
But the actions that align with heresy are plain to see. And when something is plain to see, it cannot be refuted based on the evidence available. And so, there's evidence of heresy. What does that mean?
Exactly. What we can say is, if someone says that, sorry.
For us to have to believe, it has to come from the chair of Peter.
Exactly. It is the reason why.
As a man who can sin and can have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's binding on the Catholic Church, he's got to sit in the chair of Peter. And if he doesn't, it's not binding on us. We don't have to follow what he says. If he tells us we must pick up the ground and kiss it, we don't have to do that. Because that's his opinion. His opinion is not Catholic teaching.
No, exactly. So it's true that the authority of the Pope is not absolute. Again, the stupid example with tomatoes or whatever, he must transmit the faith. Then, on the question of heresy, and if you read the Catechism of Bishop Schneider, it's very well done, because he says, if someone, even the Pope says that, this is heresy. And quotation, Pope Francis said that. So, he doesn't say he is heretic, but he said if someone says that, he is heretic. And by the way, he said it. So it's true. Some of the statements of the Pope are heretic. But we can't, to be formally heretic is to, I know this is an heresy, but I know it's against the teaching of the Church, but I know this is against the teaching of the Church, but I still do it. Okay? And we can't judge the intention of Pope Francis. Okay? So we don't judge it as saying. So the best thing to say is, if someone says that, this is an heresy. Okay? And then it's not our business. Even if the Pope is heretic, he's still the Pope. So we are sorry if he's heretic, but he doesn't lose his papacy because he's heretic. Okay? So it doesn't change anything. So of course we wish he is not, and he was not. Sometimes we have to stand. And by the way, some people say, oh, but the society was quite strong and now they don't say anything anymore. But some bishops and some cardinals are saying things. So we let them do their job, you know. When Cardinal, no, it's true. When Cardinal Burr, Cardinal Müller, Bishop Schneider, and other ones say, we are happy, you know. It is their job to do it, it's not our job technically. So we were doing it because no one was doing it. We're doing sometimes. Sometimes there are statements from Father Pagliarani, Superior General, for some things. But, you know, our mission is not to bark every day or every week at the Pope. When something must be said, we have to say it, but if some cardinals and bishops are saying it, we are more than happy because it is their mission, their job. So, just to conclude on that, yes, some statements of the Pope seems heretic, looks heretic. So, he is not heretic, we can't say it because he has to have the intention to be, you see. To refuse some teaching of the church, so we can't judge that. And again, it's not our business. It does not change anything for now today. He's still the Pope, even if he is heretic. Yes.
What about the synodal document, the final one? He said he must please all as
Yes.
as magisterium.
Exactly. So he should have not done it because. Normally, so a synod writes a document, and the Pope, a few months, a few years, sometime later, approve or don't approve, and makes his own post-synodal exhortation. So from what the synod has said, he chooses, and he says, okay, yes, this is good, this. And he said, no, it's fine, I won't write a post-synodal exhortation. The synod has spoken, so I accept it as it is. So, but actually he made the synod, and it was his agenda. So the synod had just made what he wanted to do. So actually I think he was happy with that. So normally he should have not done it because it looks like the mission of his authority. No, they are spoken because this is what we call conciliarism. When there is a council or a synod, they can decide without the approval of the Pope. You know? This is an heresy. The synod or the council doesn't have the authority to decide without the Pope. But there he agreed with them. So technically, you know, he agreed with them. So he gave his approval. So there is nothing to say. You know, we are not happy with what has been said. And the Pope should have written his own document to have been better, but he is the Pope, he has authority to say, I approve it as it is.
So doesn't he accept it as magisterium?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, because as long as it contradicts tradition, it's not magisterium. You know, again, the authority of the Pope is just to transmit what has been revealed. Okay? As soon as there is a contradiction, it's not magisterium anymore. You know, they don't have authority to say new things. So we have to see the document. I'm sure there are some good things in the document, as always. But if there's any new things, so it's part of the new magisterium, yes. It's the same for Vatican II. We accept Vatican II as a council, but we refuse some points of Vatican II, you know, as long as they contradict.
There were only two schemas that Archbishop Lefèvre didn't sign. One was on collegiality and the other one was...
Apparently he signed everything. But
Those two.
there is a kind of...
Signed those two.
Bishop Lefèvre said he signed everything, I think. Anyway, this we don't know exactly. But yes, he said once Bishop Lefèvre was Superior General, once he said Vatican II is good at maybe 90%. 90% maybe is good. But the problem is not the 90% good, it's the rest, you know, and the ambiguity. If I say, let's say I give a speech, 99% is good, but I say a heresy, it's two words, my speech is bad, it's not good, you know.
Oh, that was the interpretation of Vatican II that destroyed it.
No, I don't agree
A
with
lot of
you.
people say, no, a lot of people say,
Yes, yes, yes.
if you read Vatican II,
Yeah.
and how the church has watered it down to suit itself,
Yeah.
when they keep going back to Vatican II documentation, it's completely different to what they're doing today. I mean, I haven't read it, but that's what we hear on the
That's very interesting. Some people say Vatican II was good, and then the media made a story, or some groups, they have détourné, they have manipulated exactly and interpreted it in a bad way. But this is not really true, because if you read the documents of Vatican II, don't fight. If you read the documents of Vatican II, it's ambiguous and it's on purpose, you know. So you have a beautiful sentence, and then you have the next sentence is the contrary, you know? Because in order to have it accepted, they have to water it down. They couldn't say everything, of course, and so you have very good things, and in the middle of it you have a sentence, a bad sentence, and then after the council they say, but according to Vatican II, we can say this because it is fully modernist and a traditionalist. They can say the contrary thing, you know. They can say the contrary based on Vatican II.
Yeah.
Modernist can say Vatican II says that, I'm right, and the traditionalist can say the contrary. Vatican II says that because Vatican II said everything. You know? It is the reason why there is this ambiguity, and so what we ask now for this decades is that the clarification of Vatican II, okay, a formal interpretation, a full, complete interpretation of Vatican II. This has been said, but this means this, because now anyone can say Vatican II said that, but because it's not clear, anyone can have his own interpretation. And it is the same for all the documents of today, the new magisterium or the current magisterium. It's always done like that, you know. Everyone can be happy with it, and you can have very, very, very different interpretation. Okay?
Father, can I ask you, if the Pope is allowed to do what he chooses to do, because he's Pope and it changes a lot of things, the thing that was in the missal where the one Pope said it will be an anathema if you change any of the stuff in the Mass.
Yes.
Even if you kind of
Yeah, now that means that he cannot change what one Pope said, but we always say that the Pope can do what he likes.
Yes, so it could change with the same degree of autonomy. No, Pius V. Pius V said no one will can change this mass or can be.
It's an anathema.
But since then, there has been changes in this mass, few changes, you know, by Pius X and others. So to change it requires the same level of authority, you know.
What is the Pope? That's his
Yes,
authority.
exactly. So, but this on the mass, the statement of Pope Pius V meant a local bishop cannot, you know, forbid his priest to say that. But the Pope, having the full authority, can say. But the Pope cannot say something which contradicts tradition, you know. So if for example, Pope Pius IX defines the dogma of what?
The Assumption.
No,
The Immaculate
The Great Conception. Another Pope cannot say, oh, no, this
No, but
is
those were ex cathedra.
exactly dogmas.
But that
So it's
was
not
ex
contradict.
cathedra.
But for something else, a Pope technically he can because he has a full authority. So he can change something, provided it's not against, you know, faith.
I have to say that if everybody knew their penny catechism, they wouldn't have these discussions. And that's a trouble because from the tiny, they haven't been taught who made you, why, and why did he make you.
Exactly.
Just those
Thank
little
you
what we
for
call
proving
penny
what I've just
catechism. That's what I was trying to say to you. And that's what you should do here. You should make everybody learn their penny catechism and then you should ask them their catechism. Listen, I learned very little at school and I learned like a parrot. And you don't understand. He said, look, I'm
Before you go,